The extreme hunger is relative to the individual. You know, what extreme hunger is to one person is not extreme to another, and what's extreme to them may be not enough for the other person, but really it's just, you know, don't doubt your body and what you are feeling just because someone else is doing something different. Hey everyone, Kayla here. Welcome back to another video. I know it's been a little bit, so thanks for tuning in. All right, so today I want to talk about something that I think I've addressed in the past, but I don't really talk about that much, and that is facing no appetite, no physical hunger when you're coming from a past of an energy deficit of any kind. You guys have heard me talk a lot about extreme physical hunger, but not a lot about the absence of hunger. So some of you guys have been asking on other videos, you know, like, okay, like this is great and all, but what if I don't have an appetite, but I know I've been in an energy deficit and I'm facing all of these starvation type symptoms, even from semi-starvation from my diet. What's going on? Why am I not facing this extreme physical hunger? How come my hunger cues are completely absent? I talk a lot about physical hunger because that's like one of my biggest things that I thought I could never overcome. That's a lot of where Damn the Diets came from, how I was able to actually live a life without binging all the time and having that extreme physical hunger, that non-satiable, endless, bottomless pit hunger. But working with people and reflecting back to a period of my journey as well, I do know that if we do endure an energy deficit for long enough, our body can actually turn off our hunger signals altogether, our physical hunger. What a lot of people misunderstand here though, is just because they're not feeling physical hunger, they think that they don't have hunger at all. But there's different types of hunger. There's physical hunger and there's mental hunger. And the mental hunger, like I talked about in another video, is not an emotional eater. You're not bored eating. You know, if you're coming from an energy deficit, then that mental hunger is true hunger, just like physical hunger. So firstly, I want to address that, is that a common misconception is that just because your physical hunger is absent, you don't feel your stomach hunger. It's hard to explain. You know, you don't have an appetite for food. You feel like you don't even know what you're craving. You don't even know what you're hungry for, but you know mentally that you're hungry. And you know this because you're always thinking about food. You're always finding yourself on food blogs or food, you know, social media platforms or food recipe books or Food Network shows. You know, you're always looking at food porn or what I eat in a day videos. You're always thinking about what you wish you could be eating, but you don't allow yourself to eat that, or you look at other people and envy that they're able to eat all of your favorite foods and you wish that you could do that. You're always thinking about food. You're thinking about your meal prep, you're thinking about your macros, you're thinking about your calories, you're thinking about how much food you've ate today and how much you have left to eat and what you're gonna eat later, what you're gonna eat tomorrow. And if you're honest with yourself, you have these thoughts of, well, if I was actually hungry, you know, I have a sweet tooth and I just crave carbs and sugar all the time. And if I, you know, took your approach and I allowed myself to just eat all the carbs and sugars that I wanted, then I would never be able to stop. Just that mindset alone. That's that mental hunger that you have guilt and shame around even feeling that way. But there's a reason you feel that way. So I was actually gonna address this later on, but I ended up addressing it first because a lot of people that I see that say that they don't have an appetite, you look further into their mindset, what they're thinking about, what they're spending their time and energy looking into, they're actually extremely mentally hungry. So even though they don't face extreme physical hunger, they have this extreme mental hunger. So this is still extreme hunger. So that's why I would even challenge you to think you actually do face extreme hunger, just in a different way than what a lot of people talk about it like. And that's real. And a lot of people just face things differently in their recovery. It's not to say that what you're feeling is wrong or bad or, you know, not good enough for recovery. It's just different. And there's a way to work through this, just like everyone else. So like I was saying, I always had an extreme appetite, but there was a point where my appetite did go away. And this was when I was, you know, really involved with veganism and then raw veganism. And then also when I was in like keto dieting, and I was in this mindset of purity and during certain juice cleanses. So this didn't mean that my body had detoxed to a point of cleanliness and purity and my palate had just adjusted and I didn't really crave those foods anymore and I was like superior because I had gotten to this certain level of cleanliness or whatever. Like if I was honest with myself, I still really craved a lot of foods. It's just that a lot of foods were off limits. So because I didn't give myself that option, I didn't even allow myself to think about the things that I was truly feeling deep and down inside. So at that certain point, I had lost a lot of weight and I did experience this appetite loss. So this physical appetite. And I was telling myself also that I wasn't craving certain foods and I wasn't hungry for certain foods. And I was just lying to myself now looking back. But I was still thinking about food. I was still thinking about the safe foods that I could eat and planning for them and always thinking about like new recipes and looking at different food videos, and my whole life revolved around food and nutrition. I mean, that's not freedom to me. That's not who I am as a person. That's not all I'm good for. That's not my purpose. That's not my passion. It became my passion when I was starved. That's why I went to get a degree in nutrition. But if I'm my real self and I'm nourished and I'm out of an energy deficit, nutrition is the last concern of mine. I have certain things that I like to buy, but I don't have a panic attack, or I don't spend my days researching and studying nutrition and recipes and this and that and food all day long. It was until I was forced into recovery against my will. I still don't even know exactly how it happened, but I didn't choose recovery. It just got to a certain point where I had my first meal, a regular meal with pasta and cheese and a real meal, and it awoke that beast inside of me. It was at that point that my hunger came back full force. It was always kind of there mentally, but my physical hunger came back with a vengeance at that point after I'd eaten regular food enough to show my body that there was regular food. I was in an abundant environment, and boy, did it want to take advantage of that to make up for the energy deficit while it could. So it was like my hunger was like a beast coming out of hibernation, just ravenous. And I had that feeling that once I started eating, I couldn't stop. And I just wanted to eat 24/7. So this is kind of a long intro, but now I want to talk about, why this kind of happens. Why does our body kind of just shut off physical hunger? So for some, this happens, and for others, it doesn't happen. They have their physical hunger the whole time, or it gets slowly, progressively worse or more stronger as they're in an energy deficit. The more time goes on, the more depleted they come, the more damage that's inflicted on their body. For others, their appetite goes away. So think of it like this. If your body is so starved and malnourished from the energy deficit that it shuts off reproductive hormones, for a lot of people, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, because of the lack of energy. In an act to conserve energy, your body can also turn off your hunger signals as well. So these hunger cues are produced by the body, fueled by hormones. And these hormones are ghrelin and leptin, so your hunger and satiety hormones. So these hunger cues, they are hormones too. So if your body is going to shut off reproductive hormones, it only makes sense that it's going to turn off other hormones as well, right? So different hormones produced by the thyroid. Thyroid can be suppressed as well, and therefore our metabolism, because they go hand in hand, they work together. Our digestive system. And this is because to produce these hormones, it takes a lot of energy to do so. So physical hunger cues cost a lot of energy to produce. So why would the body want to risk further energy depletion when it's already in an energy deficit? The body knows that, it's very intelligent, more than we give it credit. I mean, it does all the work for us. So it knows that that would lead to death if it kept the rate of energy expenditure at a normal rate when not enough energy is coming in to supplement that. So everything, including your physical hunger cues, are suppressed, turned off altogether or just halted the production, the rate at which it functions on purpose to conserve energy for your survival. So thank your body. Thank your body that it was trying to save your life when you were ignorant. That's what I had to do. I had to thank my body and apologize that I was ignorant, but now I have the information to not do that. So mental hunger, though, doesn't cost that much energy. It costs a lot less energy to produce mental hunger and keep mental hunger there. Even though we don't feel like we have an appetite, our mental hunger remains present. And this is why we often, sometimes not, some people don't even feel this. I would like to argue that though and really question yourself and what you're spending your time and energy doing. But if not, you're not the unicorn, you know, and there's still hope and everyone's recovery looks different. But just know that this mental hunger is true hunger as well. And to overcome this, it's really quite simple. It's to just force feed yourself, you know. That's why this is where, you know, the minimums come in. But for some people this works, you know, just to make sure that they're eating enough until their physical hunger cues return and they're present. And then, you know, you don't want to get caught up with calorie counting. That's what you're getting away from. You don't want that minimum to become a maximum. If your hunger does return and then it's like all of a sudden you're hungry for 10,000 calories. And just know for some, not everyone faces that kind of extreme hunger. I've gotten that question a lot too. You know, we can get caught up comparing to what other people's recovery and eating habits look like. But the extreme hunger is relative to the individual. You know, what extreme hunger is to one person is not extreme to another, and what's extreme to them may be not enough for the other person. But really, it's just, you know, don't doubt your body and what you are feeling just because someone else is doing something different. I've seen that a lot. So just, if you're following your hunger cues, mental, physical, both, unrestrictedly, then don't get caught up thinking that you're doing something wrong and now you have to force feed yourself even though you went through extreme hunger already. You've already felt that and yours wasn't as much as someone else, so that means you probably did something wrong and that's why your body isn't balancing out yet and that's why you're not recovered yet and it's taking too long. You know, it's probably really just a matter of being patient with your body. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic. So I just wanted to say that. Try not to compare to what other people are doing in their recovery. Everyone's at a different point in their journey as well, and they're coming from different places. They're feeling different things. So if you're honest with yourself, just stay in your own lane, okay? To get out of this, it's really about force feeding yourself until your appetite returns. So you just keep eating. It may take a few months or longer or shorter of you force feeding yourself enough until that physical hunger returns. And it does return. You just have to be consistent with yourself, you know, not be skipping meals, not be restricting here and there, not be over-exercising. You know, you have to get yourself out of this energy deficit. You have to weight restore. You have to be challenging your food fears like constantly, no slacking, no getting stuck, and just continuing to move forward. So if you want your physical hunger to return, you gotta eat. And then it shows your body that food is coming in. Your body has a chance to restore the energy deficit, so it comes out of malnourishment. It heals, it strengthens, it balances, and then your body senses, okay, we have enough energy coming in, just like your period returns. The body senses it's safe to turn back on reproductive hormones. And it can give energy to that because it has enough coming in consistently. It's the same thing with your physical hunger cues in a sense. It senses that it has enough food coming in. It's not going to be restricted, and therefore it can start to put energy towards producing those hormones, ghrelin and leptin again, or at least make the satiety, you know, the leptin more present as it doesn't need as much food anymore. So that's when you start to feel your satiety become more present, just as your hunger may start to slowly subside. Not back into restriction and an energy deficit, but just back to your normalcy. But this can take a long time, okay? This can take like 6 months, 10 months, a year and a half, 2 years, depending on like, are you in full recovery or are you in quasi recovery? You know what I mean? Pretty simplistic. I get it. I know it's easier said than done, but that's, you know, I have other videos talking about how to face your fear foods, how to force feed yourself, how to take the action that you know you need to. You know what to do. How do you take the action? You know, so I talk about that in here, on my YouTube, in my book, on my website. You can find other resources that I can help you out with that. And your mental hunger will not be so crazy, strong, out of control. Like, you know, it dies down, it subsides, it balances out, and you become a normal person again that doesn't spend their days looking at food this and food that and thinking about food and fantasizing about food, and food is your identity and food is your idol and all this stuff. Like, for me, that wasn't my definition of freedom. So what is your definition of freedom? And does that entail food thoughts all the time? So if not, then get committed in your recovery, like 100%. You're either in or you're out, you know, no looking back. Going back isn't an option. Restriction isn't an option. You know, whatever it takes, as long as it takes. These kinds of mindsets will get you through recovery and the long haul to remain consistent and repetitive. Of course, this is never a one-size-fits-all approach. This is for the majority of people that are coming from some kind of energy deficit, some kind of restrictive diet of any kind, right? But also, if you have no appetite, not from an energy deficit standpoint, if it's not that, of course, there are other factors, such as some people lose their appetite when they're stressed out. They go through a breakup, a divorce, a crisis, a death in the family, they get fired at a job, they get laid off, they have to move, some kind of stressful, chaotic time in their life, they lose their appetite. That's not from the energy deficit, but that could put you into an energy deficit, so you gotta watch it, make sure you're eating enough. Some people, they use appetite suppressants. They smoke cigarettes, they drink way too much coffee, you know, they take appetite suppressant drugs and supplements. So you gotta watch that. Question what's in your life or your daily routine. Other people could be on like antidepressants or different pharmaceutical drugs that one of the side effects of those is lowering the appetite. So, you know, with all of these though, this can lead to an energy deficit, which therefore can lead to all of these symptoms that then you have to go through recovery. So it's just worth mentioning, you know, to make sure that you don't fall into that trap. And also, if this is in your life currently while you're trying to recover, question that so that nothing comes in the way of your recovery. And if you do have this from these things, force feeding has to come in at this point as well. You know, I'm one of those people that when I get stressed out, go through crisis, my appetite just goes away. So through my recovery, I didn't take that as an opportunity anymore like I used to when I was in that mindset of fearing weight gain and stuff. But in recovery, I had to switch that. And if something happened like that, I got sick and I didn't have an appetite, or I went through a stressful time and my appetite was gone, I don't want to go back to where I was coming from. So I had to make sure, force feed myself every day until that went away, right? Even if it was weeks, months, you know, and so forth. So it's just taking care of your body's needs, you know, not taking that as an opportunity, as if it's a good thing, that your appetite's gone, you're going to lose weight. Like, you're going to make up for that sooner or later, you know? So just worth mentioning. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope that you're doing good in your recovery. I just want to remind you that just because it's smiles and we can laugh about it or talk about recovery in a light manner, I know the seriousness to recovery and how hard it actually can be. So just know that if it doesn't look as pretty and glamorous as others portray it to be, and it's more so of fear and anxiety and pain and tears and frustration and anger, an identity crisis, that's more so of what real recovery looks like, but there's beauty in that. And just keep going and you'll see the purpose to your pain in the future. if not already. So with that, I hope that this video has helped you in some way, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.